Hello, everyone. It's Patrick Cristiano, and I'm coming to you from the LTV studio with Spotlight on the Arts. And today I have a wonderful guest, my friend, the museum curator, the chief museum director and chief curator, I got to get this straight, Christina Strassfield of Guildhall, the museum director and chief curator. Good morning.
Good morning, Patrick.
Oh, thank you so much for coming around so early.
Thank you for inviting me.
We get to show the show at different times, but we're shooting, now early. And you just had a tremendous opening this past Saturday. Taryn Simon?
Yes.
A show called The Innocents?
Yes.
About men who had been incarcerated for violent crimes, rapes, murders.
Absolutely.
And they were determined to be innocent, a lot of them.
Because of the DNA evidence. So it's an amazing project. She did this work about 15 years ago. She was on assignment for the New York Times where she was freelancing. And the Innocence Project is actually in its 25th year that they're celebrating. And these people, they're lawyers, they get other students who are law students to actually take on these cases. So the students are getting actual practice and they're saving people's lives. People who were put in prison for crimes, as you said, rape, murder, and were sentenced. Some of them served up to 18 years in prison. And then when the DNA evidence came out, they were exonerated and let free. And what happened to them, what happens to them in prison, there's a wonderful film that you can watch.
Oh, the film was dynamite.
It's a half-an-hour film, and I recommend anyone who comes to this show really has to see it, because I think you really, the photographs are amazing. And the photographs are staged in areas where the crime either took place, where the alibi was, or something related to the case. So many times it's a scene, the person who was convicted of this crime is put in a situation, an area where he had never been before. And so the scenes are amazing. Some of them are a beautiful lake. Some of them are a baseball field. Some of them are a very seedy hotel. So it really runs the complete gamut. And you're brought into the photographs, because they're life size. So you feel like you're walking into the scene. And you're looking at the photographs, beautifully composed. And then you read the text and you're thinking, oh my God, how horrific. This man was in jail for 12 years for something he didn't do. Another man has been in prison for 18 years for something that he didn't do. And when you watch the film and they start talking about being afraid, a man who was convicted of rape.
That's what really struck me most about the film, was that they were like scared animals to be out in the world again, because they felt like anything could happen to them again, that these things happened. It was like an abused dog.
Absolutely.
And they hold this kind of in a way that stayed with them afterwards. It was really powerful.
I think that's the perfect analogy, because we've all seen an animal who's skittish and can't really re-enter society. And these poor men, one situation was a man who was talking about he was convicted of rape, and he was afraid if he was in an elevator and a woman came into the elevator, he would go out. If he had to be in his office and a woman came in that he had to discuss something with, he made sure that the door was open and that someone could watch them from the outside. So on a day-to-day basis, could you imagine living with that kind of nervousness and just, again, the skittish behavior, because you don't know what's happening and what could happen to at any moment?
Yeah, and a lot of these men had alibis, really strong alibis, with witnesses that put them, I remember one person had 13 witnesses that put them in a particular place that was nowhere near the crime scene, and yet they were convicted anyway.
Exactly.
It's mind-boggling.
It is. Yeah, I think you have to really examine the criminal justice system and see what has happened and how these cases were manipulated from juries, people wanting convictions right away, people just wanting the cases to be over with. And that's such a shame, because this is a person's life that you're dealing with, and that should never happen. That should never happen.
And the show is running through July 31st?
Yes.
And you're doing a walkthrough on July 15th, is it?
Yes, it is.
15th. And
Yes.
what's going to happen on the walkthrough?
Well, I really want to talk about the exactly what we're talking about here, to set the pace for people, and then to really talk a little bit about how the artist has composed each of the scenes, because I think they're very, very dramatic compositions, and I think you're looking at them as a photograph. They work as a photograph, and then when you read the text, you have this second sort of aha moment, like, oh my goodness. So I love that aspect of her work, and I find that often in Taryn's work, you'll see that. The photographs are amazing, and then when you read the text behind the photographs, you say, wow, again. So you have that double aha moment. So I want to walk the people through that, have them watch the video, and really maybe have a little discussion about what they've seen and their reaction to it.
And your walkthrough commemorates 25 years of the anniversary of the Innocence Project?
Yes, the Innocence Project, yes.
They've released 350 men
Yes.
in that time period?
It's really wonderful, and you would hope that going forward, obviously they will be able to release more men doing this, but you would hope that maybe by the time they reach their 30th anniversary or their 35th, we won't need all of this, and that sort of the justice system will have some reform.
Mm-hmm. So it's Taryn Simon, and it's through July 31st at Guildhall, and Christina is going to do a walkthrough on July 15th. So we don't know exactly when the show's going to air yet. I'm hoping it'll air just before your walkthrough.
Well, that would be great.
And if it doesn't, get over and see the exhibition anyway before the end, because when it comes down July 31st, they're putting up another exhibition, and it's Richard Avedon.
Yes.
And it's 50 years of black and white photographs that kind of shows the diversity that has helped shape our American culture. Because tell us about Richard Avedon. He was a fashion designer.
A fashion designer. I think when everyone hears Richard Avedon, immediately what comes to mind in fashion, Harper's Bazaar, Vogue, all the major magazines, such an innovative photographer. And we began discussions with the Avedon Foundation, which are wonderful people to work with. And I had known of his American West series, where he went out to the American West and he photographed farmers and workers and just a little bit of a slice of life, which was really wonderful. I then discovered that he really did so much more. So he was involved with the civil rights movement. So we have amazing photographs of Malcolm X. We have Lou Alcindor before he became Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. We have images of Marian Anderson, the first major black opera singer. So the civil rights movement, also the women's rights movement. He has sort of the Daughters of the American Republic, and he has a number of people such as Hillary Clinton and a lot of political figures. So that's really kind of exciting.
You're going to have Trump in there too?
We are going to have Trump in there. We're playing equal. We're doing equal duty here. Writers as well. We have George Plimpton. We have Edward Albee. So there are people from out here as well. But the mixture, the person who was the beekeeper, the person who was the butcher, all of these images really showing you what America is all about, and that's why it's called Avedon's America, and we're very, very excited about that, because I think
we're celebrating the diversity of America.
Diversity of America, we're celebrating diversity of this artist. I hate to see when artists get pigeonholed into one particular area, and I think that with Avedon, or with a lot of fashion photographers who do fashion, whether it be Annie Leibovitz or anyone, sometimes they think, well, they can just do that. And what you're going to see here is that he was extraordinary, and he did so much, and the work really has tremendous breadth and expression and shows you America.
You worked with the
foundation. James Martin, who's the executive director.
Did you pick everything, or did they let you? How did it go?
We worked on this together.
You worked on it together.
Yes.
So you really kind of guided what you.
Yeah. Well, I think James did, because he actually worked with Richard Avedon, so I think he had great insight, and so I let him take the lead. Clearly.
So, Janis Joplin's in there too.
Janis Joplin's in there.
And you have
yes.
Chino Okada, who was out
beautiful.
here, was
yes.
one of the first models of Oriental nature.
Yes.
I saw one of the photographs of her. What we brought some slides. What did we bring slides of?
Well, we brought slides of a number of different things. I think the first slide that we have going up there is a beautiful sculpture that we just put in front of Guildhall by an artist named Ned Smythe. Ned has been around. He's an artist who is very known for public sculptures, and this piece just came from the Sculpture Center. and it came from a major exhibition that he was having here. And we wanted to change, usually we try to change what's in front of Guildhall every year. And this particular piece was available. It's called Male Torso. And we put it up, and I felt like it really was just such a vibrant piece to have in front of Guildhall. And it's wonderful, as you know, our mission to show artists who live and work in our community.
So this will be up for a year?
So this is going to be up until the end of October.
And he lives and works in our...
He lives in Shelter Island. He teaches at the Ross School right now.
Cool.
But he is a major person in terms of doing public art in the United States.
And what's the next slide we have?
The next slide is the annual member show. This was the winners of our 79th annual member show. And the member show is probably one of the highlights of our season, I think, at Guildhall, because it's what we do for the community. And I'm very excited that next year is going to be our 80th anniversary. So I encourage every artist to start thinking about what they want to put in the show.
I want to share with everybody what Christina did. This members exhibition, how many artists did you have?
We had 421, I believe it was.
421 pictures she had that she had to hang in the gallery. You walk into this space and you go, oh my God, how do you figure out how to do that?
You know, it's been years that I started doing it, and I try to have a rhythm to the room, because each piece has to relate to, we usually double hang, so each piece has to relate to the piece under it and to the pieces on either side. So you're working basically with 6 pieces that have to completely work together. And then you have to transition those 6 pieces into the next 6 pieces. So you have to get a rhythm and a flow. And I don't put all portraits together, and I don't put all landscapes together. I really try to mix them up. So I'll find an element, whether it's color, shape, or form of a portrait, and then bring a landscape next to it and bring an abstract next to that, and really kind of make it work. So it's really a giant jigsaw puzzle that I work on for quite a while. The works come in, I don't know what's coming in, place them all on the floor. I go back and forth. I'm on a lot of caffeine those days. And we place it, and then we hang it up, and we're usually ready to go. We just do a few little tweaks after that. So it's very exciting.
Caffeine, it gets you through.
Caffeine every time.
It was just phenomenal. I mean, I was
Thank you.
just so impressed with what you did at that members exhibition. I tried to get you on so that we could promote it, and you were too busy to come on at that time.
That's right.
So, what's the next slide we have?
Okay. The next slide is the image of the Terrence Simon, and this is the man, Charles Fane, and he was one of the people...
Can we zoom in on that any closer to just take the writing off, or is that not possible?
It might not be possible on this one. But what it is a man who has sort of the headlights of a car behind him. He was the person that was in prison for 18 years, and he is shown on the video talking about his incarceration and how, again, he's afraid. He would love to live his life. He would love to go out and go to a ball game. He would love to go out and have a drink with a friend, but he just is sort of almost in prison in his own home. So it's so tragic to see, and the tears in their eyes when they're speaking about their incarceration and what has happened to them is quite amazing. And I was talking to someone, I said, you know, when I waste a day, I feel like, oh, I wasted a day. So I could only imagine how these people who've spent 18 years, how they feel like their life, what has happened to them. They've wasted a lifetime. Their children have grown. In some cases, their parents have died who never got to see them be exonerated. It's just such a moving body of work. So again, once again, everyone has to come to see this, because I think it will change your whole perception of the criminal justice system and the changes that need to be made.
Yeah, it was very powerful.
Yes.
It certainly was. And what's the next image we have?
Now
now
this is
this
the
is
Avedon
Avedon's
America. So again, I think this is a wonderful shot right there, which shows you. We have a man who's a butcher. He's covered in an apron full of blood. And I remember seeing this particular image when we were going through the selection. And I was like, wow, this is really, really an intense image. And then when I saw it in person, I was blown away. I was like, this could be the signature image for the show, because it is so powerful. Caught the man in his action, what he was doing in his livelihood. It's a very, very powerful image.
So have you done the cards yet?
We are working on them right now. Kathleen Bifulco is designing them.
So what's going to be the image?
We have a few. I think we have 3 different images that are on the card.
So it's not that one.
That is one of them, I believe.
That
yes.
is one of them.
And then the other image that we had was, I believe it was It was one of the models that was, oops, those are the Pollock images, which are great. But there was, we have the models, and we have some other, again, we have the Daughters of the American Republic.
So take that off for a moment. That's Pollock. We don't want that up right now. Okay, thank you, because we're still on Avedon.
Right. So the images of the models, again, when you think about what he did, the movement in models, the models jumping across stages, being in outdoor settings, these were all very, very innovative, because up until that time, all the photography was just done in the studio. So he really wanted to free the models to really express themselves, jumping, dancing, and bringing in a lot of different, African Americans, bringing in Orientals, really mixing it up, which is so wonderful, really.
So besides being visually arresting, which all of his work was, that he has a psychological impact when he adds the movement that becomes even more profound to make a comment about
the fashion that's being shown, absolutely. So this was a major, major innovation of what he did.
So that show, there'll be a special preview on August 11th, which is the Summer Gala, which is Guildhall's biggest event of the season, and the next day it'll be open to the public.
That's
so
right.
People that are coming to the gala on August 11th will get to be the first ones to see this incredible exhibition that you haven't even hung yet. You've got all the pieces selected.
All the pieces are selected, and the layout is designed.
And so the layout's designed. So it's just a matter of putting it up.
Putting it up.
And you'll have the period from July 31st when the
we'll have it actually right after the clothesline art sale.
Oh, okay.
So that.
So when's the clothesline art sale?
The clothesline art sale is on August 5th, and on August 5th, they're going to actually be coming in that evening, and they're going to be repainting the galleries and getting us ready, so we'll be able to start the installation on Monday.
So our viewers can come to the clothesline art sale too on August 5th.
Absolutely, a wonderful event.
It's a Saturday, right?
Yes, it's Saturday.
Saturday, August 5th.
Yes.
Everybody can participate in the clothesline art
That's
sale
right.
that wants to submit something to Guildhall. And now, in conjunction with the Avedon exhibition, you're going to be showing works by Jackson Pollock.
Yes.
And you're showing, it's called the graphic works.
Graphic
and there's
works.
something from the 40s,
Yes,
44 and 45.
Absolutely.
Tell us about it.
It's so wonderful, because I think every time someone hears the word Jackson Pollock, you think immediately of his drip paintings. So what's exciting for us is that we're able to borrow from the Pollock-Krasner Foundation a series of prints that he did in the 40s and the 50s, and that were restruck on the original plates, which is really interesting. And his wife, Lee Krasner, authorized the restrike, so they were able to do this series of prints, and we're having all 13 of these. So this is really capturing everything that he did in the print format, the graphic format. So we're very, very excited to see it. You can see traces of the way he used his hand and moving the color around, and the lines that we're going through in what he does in his paintings. You see the same thing coming through in his prints. So we're very excited about that. And Helen Harrison will be speaking on that show, and we're looking forward to having her.
Helen Harrison, who is she?
Helen Harrison is the director of the Pollock-Krasner House
wonderful.
and Study Center. She'll be talking about the particular pieces that we have on exhibition.
And
so we're really thrilled.
They're inkjet prints?
No, they are actually intaglio and screen prints.
Oh, okay.
So it's
But
really.
they're all black and white, is that
They're
right?
all black and white. Yes.
So it really shows his origins in a way.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. The color, using just the ink on the paper creates sort of a very similar feeling to his paint, throwing the black paint on the canvas.
Mm-hmm. But Avedon's going to be in the two main galleries.
Yes.
And then Pollock will be in which gallery?
In the Spiga Gallery, which is the smaller gallery just off of the Moran Gallery. So I think it's going to be a wonderful, going from the black and whites of the Avedons, going to the black and whites of the Pollock, I think will really be exciting. And what's wonderful, I think Guildhall loves to show artists of every generation. Taryn is younger. Richard Avedon has passed away, of course, but he was younger than Pollock, and Pollock, of course, is our history, being out here in the abstract expressionist movement, such a big part of who we identify with. Mm-hmm. So we're very excited about really showing all of these wonderful artists.
Yeah, I'm curious, what drew you to curating to begin with? I mean, what was your...
Well, when I was a little girl, I ended up going to the museums, and a friend of my mother's, she would take us around, and she always knew these amazing stories about art. And I thought, wow, this is fantastic. This painter this, and this painter this, and this type of art is this. And I said, that's what I want to do. And from when I was a little girl, I took art courses at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I did an internship when I was in high school, and then I did an internship between college and graduate school. school, and I said, this is it for me. So I studied art history and anthropology as an undergraduate and went on for my master's in art history, and I've never regretted it.
And you've been the museum director here at Guildhall for how long?
I started out in 1987 as the associate curator and registrar, and then in 1990 became the curator and stayed till 96. Took some time off to have my twins, and then came back in 2002. So it's been a wonderful journey.
How old are your twins?
Twins just turned 20.
It's always, I love going to Guildhall and seeing you there and hearing about the work that you're doing and the projects that you have. You bring such a sense of enjoyment to your work that it makes it really special, and you do such a wonderful job over all these years. It's been a pleasure to get to see your evolution a little bit at Guildhall as the museum director. So I look forward to, I mean, this show just this past Saturday.
It's wonderful. And again, what we like to do is we like to do a variety of different things and expose different artists and different trends, different mediums. It's kind of interesting that this year we have 2 photography shows back to back, but we felt that their work was so unique that it was important to showcase that. But I really love it that we're able to show, last year we did Len Riggio's show and we did Peter Beard's show, and next year we'll be doing Ellsworth Kelly and other artists. So that's kind of a very exciting thing.
How far do you plan?
We're about 2.5 years out, which is wonderful because
you know what you're going to have for 2.5 years already?
Yes.
Really?
And we try to do that because we have to apply for grants. You have to, when you're borrowing things from museums, you have to have loan forms, and you have to get everything approved. In that process, when you're borrowing something, let's say from the Metropolitan Museum of Art or from the Whitney, you have to have your loan forms in a year in advance of when you want to borrow them. So there's lots of thought and process that goes into it, and it's what we do.
Wow.
That's really what we do. I know, it's not like a show, let's just do a show, we'll put it up. It doesn't happen quite that easily.
And do you, this is just an obtuse thing, but do you have any say into what goes into the permanent collection at Guildhall?
Yes, I do. We're very lucky. We have a museum advisory committee, which is very committed.
Committee? How many on the committee?
There are 7 people on the committee, and then we make recommendations to the committee of artists whose work we feel that belongs there. And I would say that the committee usually follows our recommendations. Occasionally they'll question things like, has this artist established themselves enough? Have they had museum shows? Have they had gallery shows? And they want to make sure that they're not just the Sunday painter. And we really vet things carefully, and so when an artist wants to offer work, we'll try to go to the studio, make a studio visit, make sure what we're looking at is of a certain quality, and then we'll choose what we think is the best, and we'll present that to the committee. And
so artists offer their work, so
yes.
You don't have to pay it. They give it to the
yes,
to the museum?
most times they do it.
Oh,
most of the work that comes into the museum is through donation at this point. Yes.
And when was the last time you did an exhibition of museum of pieces that you have?
Recent acquisitions, it's funny, that was a question because we're going to be doing something in the fall that's going to be guest curated by Jess Frost, who's actually working for us now. I think the last time was 6 years ago. And at that time we took the whole museum and we showed the last, I think, 10 years, a variety of works that had been donated, which was really wonderful because there was such an eclectic mix of things. And out here, artists are not working in just one style. They're working in a variety of styles, and you see the innovations that come through, and it was very, very exciting for me.
Where does the work get stored?
We have an off-site storage facility.
Oh,
and it's climate controlled and security, and it's perfect.
How fabulous.
Yes.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
So now we have the Taryn Simon exhibition that is up through July 31st, and Christina is going to do a walkthrough on July 15th. What time is it on July 15th?
I believe it is I'm sorry, I'm going to do my cheat notes here. That's why I brought the Summer Playbill Journal. It is going to be at 12 noon.
12 noon on July 15th, which we're hoping this show is going to air before then, and you can get around and see her walkthrough with this really powerful exhibition. I can't tell you how impressed I was. And that comes down on July 31st, and we have the
We should have it on?
No, August 5th.
Right,
It's the Clothesline Art Sale, where you really get to see a little bit of everything. You can go buy reasonable art for your home. It's a great day. It's rain or shine,
yes.
no matter what. And then after that, they're going to put up the Richard Avedon exhibition. And that coincides on August 11th with the Summer Gala, which is the big event for Guildhall. And it'll be a preview to people that are coming to the gala. They get to see that the next day. It'll be open to the public.
Correct.
And that show runs through October?
October 30th.
October 30th.
Yes.
And again, it's a 50 years retrospective, black and white, of the diversity of American people is what that show's all about. And you will have in the small gallery
Jackson Pollock's Graphics Works. So there's something for everyone this summer. There really is. And I really encourage everyone to come, and to come often, because the museum is open for free. So you can come see a show, and then something intrigues you, come back and look at it again, and come back a third time.
So what are the museum hours again?
The museum hours after July 4th are going to be 11 o'clock to, after July 4th, it's noon to 5 daily.
So every day it's open?
Every day. And
7 days a week?
7 days a week, and we try to also keep it open before theater events, and if there is an intermission at the theater as well.
Okay, and up until July 4th, like these next few weeks,
The next few weeks we are open Monday, Friday, and Saturday from 11 to 5, and Sunday from noon to 5.
Say that again, because it's
Monday, Friday, and Saturday, 11 to 5, and Sunday, noon to 5.
Okay, and then after July 4th, we have
7 days a week.
7 days a week from
noon to 5.
Noon to 5.
Yes.
So after July 4th, there's no excuse not to get to the museum and see these wonderful exhibitions that are going on at Guildhall, and educate yourself a little bit about the diversity of America and the wonderful. I'm sure it's going to be wonderful, because everything you do is wonderful.
Oh, thank you so much. And again, I would encourage everyone to pick up the Guildhall Summer Season Guide, because I think it's a great opportunity for you to see everything that's happening in the museum, in the theater, and education.
Thank you so much. We just did that perfectly.
That's great.
So just sit here while they do whatever they do. I think they run music after us, but our time is just
dialed is not in service at this time.